Welcome back here on Nerd Alert. My name is Joe Veneziale, and I will be your host today for our segments on video game adaptations. We're going to talk about the new highest-grossing animated film in Super Mario Bros. And some other shows and movies that have video game adaptations right here on Nerd Alert. Welcome back here on Nerd Alert. Like I said, my name is Joe Veneziale, and we are going to be talking about some video game adaptations and shows and movies, just like the newest, highest grossing animated film in Super Mario Bros. But now I introduce my panel, Tyler Drum and Haley Rhine. Thank you guys for joining me today. And our first segment, we're just going to give our overall thoughts on video game adaptations in general. I mean, my favorite one I have on my shirt right now is Pokemon. I mean, one of the best of all time, but we'll get into that later. But Tyler, I'm going to throw it to you first. Just your overall assumption, or overall summarization of your opinion for video game adaptations.
Well, video game adaptations are kind of a mixed bag, in my opinion. So there's some that are extremely good, and then there's some that are hot garbage, to put it nicely. But I think over time, especially around 2020, they started getting their act together, and the movies have, over time, gotten much better. And I'm happy, because I think video game adaptations have a lot they can bring to Hollywood.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, we see that now with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, obviously. And then just so many other shows, like Tyler alluded to, that are just really bad, and which Halo we'll get into plenty of later on in the segment. But Haley, throwing it over to you, your overall takeaway from these video game adaptations.
So to me, I think video games in general are just a very broad genre, and only so many people really kind of gravitate towards video games. So I think adapting it to make it a TV show or a movie helps reach bigger audience than if it would just stay a video game. But that being said, I love adaptations, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to know the source. You have to know, details that come from the game, because if you just throw the same characters with not a lot of the same plot or something, then you're just going to fall flat either way. So I think they have, obviously we see some really good ones, and they have a lot of potential to be really, really good, but you have to know what you're doing. The directors have to know what they're doing, just everything. Everyone just knows the details of the video game to make it authentic, and then you can make for a really, really good one.
Yeah, and that brings us to our next question, because you see the good and the bad, and usually, most of the time the good is good because it's popular and people, the audience specifically, take well to it. But then there's the really bad, and that's also why they're popular, because they're viral. Because in this case, Sonic the movie was terrible when it came out. The animation of Sonic just took a bad rep in that. And Tyler, I ask you, does the popularity match with the content of which video game it is, or if they do it well? What is your take on that?
I think that sometimes it does matter. I think the Mario movie wouldn't have been a success if it wasn't the Mario movie. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think some other things succeed just because they're a form of media. Some people don't know what these video games are, but they check it out anyways because it looks interesting. I could name probably 20 people who watched Arcane who had no idea what League of Legends is, but they love the show. And that's it doesn't need to be from a popular game, but I think being from a popular game helps in the long run.
Yeah, really kind of backboning off of what Tyler said. I think I went to go see the Mario movie. It was sold out every showing. And I think that definitely is because it is the Mario movie. But I think, in essence, video game adaptation doesn't necessarily have to be anything great, because if you come out of, say, if you have a popular show or lack thereof a popular show or a popular video game, it definitely could just be a regular show, and you can go into it watching it without, if you watch The Last of Us, you could go into that, watch that show without knowing that it was a game. So popularity does play a part, but I know if I watched The Last of Us, it would just be another zombie show to me. So I definitely think it's not as important, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting way to look at it too, because you look at the people who just take it from the movies and the TV shows, and replicate it with the games, and it introduces them to all these new games that they've never heard of or games that they could play. So, I mean, do you guys think that plays a factor in it too? Or is that like why it's so popular? Do you think it's just because, they're the game and that's why they're popular and they're making something, just like you said, a new form of media?
Honestly, I think that's why they've been getting better. I think Hollywood and directors have realized that video games aren't just Pong or the original Super Mario Bros., but they've adapted and evolved just like Hollywood has, just like any form of media has. And as video games have evolved, they've created these genius stories that you can't tell with a movie. Like, I think of Telltale's The Walking Dead. This genius take on The Walking Dead that surpasses the original TV show. That you couldn't do that with a movie. And that's why video game movies have been working so well. Because they've realized there's actual potential here that we can do stuff with. And I feel like if you follow the plot directly, it's not going to work super well. I think of the Sonic movies. They don't follow the direct plot of the games, but they take plot points from the games and put them into their own original story. And it works. The stories in those movies are interesting. And I think that's what needs to happen. They need to take what made the original great and adapt it into a new story.
Yeah, just to touch on it, I definitely think doing it, every plot point exactly is kind of repetitive and dumb. But again, like I said earlier, sometimes TV shows and movies are more popular with a bigger group of people. Video games, they're not really niche, but they're also they have this reputation of being nerdy and corny and stuff. So I think making it into a TV show kind of gets the same storyline across, or like a movie, it gets the same storyline across and it reaches a bigger audience because people are more willing to go watch a movie or a TV show than sometimes people are more willing to play video games. So I think keeping a lot of the details, I would keep more of the plot than obviously keeping the main plot points of what makes the originals great, like Tyler said, is fantastic, but I feel like you want to transfer a lot of the plot points so you have kind of like a transferred video game to a movie rendition, so there's a different audience that you can reach.
So let's take, we were talking about this before the show, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Fantastic story, fantastic game. So now, let's say that they made a movie and did the complete story, the whole 9 yards, did everything to a T. Do you think that because of the story it's so great that it's going to do well, or do you think that they do need to do a new adaptation of that? Or just in any storyline game in general, because The Last of Us, like Haley, you said that it's just another zombie show because it's written very well. So do you think that also plays a role?
I think, just taking your Breath of the Wild comparison, I think the show would do well, but I think by just being a plot retelling of Breath of the Wild, it wouldn't be as interesting. Part of the fun of Breath of the Wild is having this massive world that you can explore, that it's up to you. You pick what you do first. You choose everything. You could go fight the final boss in the first 5 minutes if you really wanted to. If you make it a show, sure, the story's interesting, but that's not going to uphold an entire show when what made the original game so interesting was that it was this fantastic story baked into an open world adventure that you controlled. I think, yeah, it would succeed, but you'd have to add more than just the base story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what he summed it up pretty much everything that I was gonna say. It's just, you can't really adapt much like that without taking away from the video game experience in that specific example,
No, 100%, and great examples, guys, but we're gonna get more in depth with other shows and other video game adaptations in our next segment right here on Nerd Alert.
What's up, music nerds? I'm Ethan Spazarski, joined by my sidekick today, Alex Hughes. Today we're going to be breaking down the top 10 music Billboard, and we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into it. Starting at number 10, Rock and a Hard Place by Bailey Zimmerman. Housecat, what do you think of this song?
It's an alright song. I mean, obviously being in the top 10, it's going to be a pretty decent song, but again, it's just not really my cup of tea, not one that I typically go back and listen to a lot, but yeah, it's just alright from my book.
Yeah, it's a classic country love song that's kind of talking about going over a breakup. A little slower pace. Not something I go out and listen to, but it's definitely not a bad song. I've heard worse. Going up to number 9, Players by Coi Leray.
Yeah, this one, I like it more than the last one, Rock and a Hard Place. It's not my favorite, but it is a pretty good song. I like it a lot better than the last one.
Exactly. No, it's a little more upbeat, a little more fast. I do like it as well. Definitely better than Rock and a Hard Place. Now going to number 8, Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift. Now, I personally am not a Taylor Swift kind of guy, especially with the newer stuff she has. So that's where I stand with it. Housecat, how about you?
You know, I honestly prefer her newer stuff to her older stuff, and this song, I actually kind of like this song. It's kind of tired out now. It's been out for quite some time, but I still listen to it every once in a while. It was a good song. I'm just at this point kind of tired of it.
Able to stand this high, especially with being longer out, you do got to give credit to Taylor Swift. All right, number 7, Calm Down by Rema and Selena Gomez.
Yeah, this one, not really my thing. Not a big fan of this song. Not really the kind of music I typically would listen to.
Yeah, it's definitely a slower beat song. Starts out slow and ends slow. Definitely not something I'd listen to as well. However, I am a fan of Selena Gomez and her singing as well, so do give credit to that. Boys a Liar Part 2 by Pink Panthers and Ice Spice. I do love this song. This is a very good song to me. Very catchy and get in your head.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This song has got to be probably my favorite of this top 10. It's so catchy. It just stays in your head all day. And Ice Spice, she's fantastic. I know a lot of people are getting on the train. I've got on the train. I think she's great.
Exactly. And now we're going to number 5, Die For You by The Weeknd and Ariana Grande.
Yeah, I think every time these two collab, it's always a great song. This is another good one. I don't know if I'd put it up as high as some of their other ones, but it's still a great song, as they always do.
I definitely do agree with you on that. Number 4, we're going to Creepin' by Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, and 21 Savage.
Yeah, again, I absolutely love this song. Metro Boomin, 21 Savage, they always hit on pretty much any song they go, and this is just another example of them hitting. And it's been there a while, but I don't get really tired of this song.
Yeah, catchy beat. I agree. I like it. I wouldn't put it this high, but it definitely does deserve a top 15 of all the songs on the Billboard. Now we get to the top 3, starting with number 3, Flowers by Miley Cyrus. Personally, I don't even know why the song's in the top 10 or even the top 20. Definitely don't agree with it. Bring back Hannah Montana, please and thank you. Housecat, how about you?
It's not a great song in my book. It's grown on me a little bit. Whenever it first came out, I couldn't stand it, and I thought it was way overplayed. But it's grown on me a little bit, but it's still not a big fan.
Now we go to number 2, Kill Bill by SZA. 100% like this song. I agree. These top 2 that we have for you guys are definitely worth the top 2. Again, another catchy song, something you notice that is being shown without for most of these top 10 songs. There's a catchy factor. I definitely like this song.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's another catchy song. SZA, pretty much another one that always hits. She took a while off before this album, but she came back. This was a great song, great lead for the album, and I really enjoy it.
And now the number 1 song on the top 100 Billboard, Last Night by Morgan Wallen. I tell you, I'm not a fan of country music at all, but when Morgan Wallen started his thing, he has instantaneously become my favorite country artist. In my book, he has over 50 songs in my personal playlist. He's done an excellent job with writing, the transition, the beat, everything you could think of. He's done an excellent job in my book. Call me basic for it, but I really like it.
Yeah, like you, I'm not a big country music fan, but I feel like Morgan Wallen is kind of like one of those guys that can bridge the gap between music genres. And he really, again, he's one of the few country artists I listen to, and it's a pretty good song in my book.
I agree. And now that was the top 10 music Billboard, according, again, to everybody who voted their songs in. Now we're going to get to our songs of the week. For me, it's going to be Peaches by Bowser, also known as Jack Black. That is my song of the week. Let me tell you, a lot of us around the college department have become very fond of the song, singing along with it, kind of just working with it, making jokes about it. It's just, I mean, in all seriousness, it is very funny, it's catchy, and again, it literally has very little different lyrics. It's the same name over and over again, but the way it's played, the movie's done an excellent job. I have Peaches by Bowser?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of one that's a little bit older, but it's been stuck in my head all week. I've been listening to it a ton. It's Walk 'Em Down by NLE Choppa. I love this song. I love NLE Choppa. Again, it's been stuck in my head pretty much all week, and I've been listening to it on repeat. Absolutely great song in my book.
Awesome stuff. That is going to do it for Woo Tunes here with Alex Hughes and myself, Ethan Spazarski. Don't get anywhere, because coming up next is going to be the Movie Minute with Jesse Kane.
What's up, movie nerds? I'm Jesse Kane here with your Movie Minute. Star Margot Robbie plays Barbie with her boyfriend, co-star Ken, which is played by Ryan Gosling. This movie about children's toys is finding its way into the news for maybe being not so kid-friendly. The rating still hasn't been revealed for this film, and Barbie will be released July 21st this year into theaters. Renfield hits theaters today. This interesting spin on a vampire classic as you follow the life of Renfield, who is Dracula's henchman and has to deal with all the mess that Dracula makes. Dracula is played by Nicolas Cage, so get your tickets to see this thriller with some comedic relief later this month. If you're into something less lighthearted, Evil Dead Rise is coming to theaters later this month. This movie, full of demons and nightmarish visuals, is sure to have your skin crawling. Director and writer Lee Cronin is releasing this new horror thrill April 21st. And rounding out the segment, we gotta talk about how great the Super Mario Bros. Movie is doing. It is now the top opening movie of all time for any animated movie film, after passing Frozen 2, making $375 million at the box office. And that's all I have for this Movie Minute update. Stick around for Level Up right after this.
What's up, nerds? I'm Tim Durkin, and this is Level Up. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter segment today because the top headline in gaming is that nothing has been happening. So we're just going to be taking a look at some of my personal favorite highlights from the past week. First up is the Resident Evil 4 remake. I'll say up front that I am a huge fanboy for this series. I've played the remakes of 2 and 3, played the original version of 4, 7, Village, around half of 0, and maybe an hour of 1. As a fan, I was skeptical of this remake. Resident Evil 4 is straight up one of the best games a person can play. So, did it need a remake? Well, it seems like I was incorrect, and I'm happy to be saying that. I haven't played it myself, because if the Switch tried to run this, it would explode, but I haven't seen a single negative review of it. Basically 10 out of 10s across the board, which is pretty rare. I don't know too much about it beyond that because I didn't want to see spoilers, but all I will say is that I can't wait to eventually get around to this one. On to Nintendo news, we have one huge announcement, which then led into a smaller one today. The big one? Finally, after mentioning it so much on this show alone, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom got a real trailer. Not a teaser, not a trailer that shows nothing, but the real thing. My hype died a long time ago for this game, but this trailer revived it. Ganon is back. It looks like you have the other champions as companions. All the abilities look so cool. The sky area is amazing. Why did it take so long to see this? We're a month out from the game's launch. I will never understand Nintendo, and I should really stop trying. Whatever, Zelda is probably my favorite franchise ever, the only competition being something like Metroid, Splatoon, or Xenoblade. So, you know the game is a day one buy from me. So they finally gave Tears of the Kingdom trailer. That means they have to give a Metroid Prime 4 trailer. That has to come next, right? I mean, it's not like I've been waiting since 2017 or anything. Ah well, a guy can dream, I guess. In related news, Splatoon 3's next Splatfest will be Zelda themed. Are you Team Power, Wisdom, or Courage, representing the 3 parts of the Triforce? I can already say that I'm a Team Courage guy myself, but the other options aren't bad, I guess. And with that, you're all caught up on what little news there is. Thanks for watching this edition of Level Up.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Back here with our second and final segment on our video game adaptations segment here on Nerd Alert, and we're going to go dive into the specifics, our favorites, and some new stuff that is coming out and that is already out, and what do we think about it. So guys, I open the floor up to you. The first one that I'm going to talk about, we got to talk about it. The number one highest grossing animated movie right now, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I haven't seen it yet. Just give me your overall takes. Haley, I'll throw that to you first.
So I just saw it Saturday with my sister, and my sister is an absolute Mario geek. She loves everything. So I was really excited to go because she obviously wrote me into Mario. My expectations were just absolutely blown away. I loved it. It had me laughing harder than some of the kids there. I just thought it was great. I thought they did a really good job with it. The design of the characters, and obviously that takes a lot of talent for animation. That's a whole nother can of worms. Mm-hmm. But I just thought, I really didn't know what to expect because I've been seeing, obviously, a ton of advertisements everywhere. Mm-hmm. But it was so fun, and it was a really, really great, I loved it. It was a great experience to watch. There was a lot of humor in it. Which we all know we love Bowser, and I thought it was so good. I think taking such a large, well-known video game and to put this into a movie was something that they had to really tackle, and I think they did it really well. Yeah. I know there were some things that I know people were some nitpicky things, but I think overall I would definitely go watch it again.
And you bring up nitpicky, and the one thing was the casting. I mean, no one knew about Chris Pratt being Mario, but I'm going to let Tyler talk about one specific character that Haley already alluded to, and that's just the greatness of Jack Black and Bowser. I mean, like you said, he was great. He's just a great songwriter and a great just voice actor in general. So, Tyler, I'll give the floor to you.
I saw the movie on opening weekend with all my friends. We went to go see it. I have never been in a theater that was that electric. There was this energy in the theater, and I 100% thank the movie for this because it knew what it wanted to be. It was a love letter to Mario, and not just Mario, Nintendo. I sat next to my one friend. The two of us are massive Nintendo nerds. And I can't count the amount of times I'd look in the background and say, there's the duck from Duck Hunt. There's the name of the one fighter from whatever that franchise. I can't remember the name. Punch Out, that's what it is. Yep. Punch Out. And there's so many references that were so under the radar that it wasn't like a call out like, this is something you like, remember this? It was a love letter. Yeah. And I loved that. And of course, we can't ignore the beautiful elephant in the room. Jack Black as Bowser, the best part of the movie in my opinion. 10 out of 10. I'd rewatch the movie just to see him again. I memorized that stupid song that he sang.
Hey,
who hasn't? It gets stuck in your head.
It's so good.
It's so good. I mean, Jack Black just can't get any better. I thought he couldn't get any better, I should say, with Kung Fu Panda. Blew my mind out of the water. As soon as I heard that song, I mean, they gave him the freedom to do that. Just beautiful stuff. I mean, everyone loves Mario as well. I mean, us being Nintendo fans, we're kind of a little biased, but at the same time, it's a popular name in the household. So just great stuff all around. I'm glad that it's the highest grossing animated movie right now. Kick Frozen out. I'm sorry. Frozen 2, especially the original Frozen was better in my opinion. Yeah. But either way, Frozen was not a video game. This next one that I'm going to talk about, The Last of Us, a new TV show based on the video game The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal, who's in The Mandalorian, which I'm a big fan of. But I haven't really seen much of it. I've seen a couple episodes. Let me get your guys' takes on The Last of Us.
So I have been a Last of Us fan. I have played the first game so many times. I know the plot, the characters, everything. I still will play it. And then the second game came out, and I was super thrilled with that one. So when I saw they're making a show, I grew up on The Walking Dead, so I'm a sucker for the zombie apocalypse shows. And when I saw they're making The Last of Us show, immediately I was like, okay, this could be a chance to be my Walking Dead replacement. So far, I really think what they're doing, they have they've really portrayed the characters well. I know there was a lot of backlash with Bella Ramsey playing Ellie, and Pedro Pascal was kind of a question mark for Joel. But I think the way they're portraying the characters is very similar to the way that they are in the games. Mm-hmm. And I think they've done a really, really good job. I'm excited to see what more they do with the show, because if they would interpret the second game into it, because I personally liked the second game a little bit more than the first, but there was also a big, couple years between when they were released. So graphics-wise, it was just a lot better. But the storyline with the second game was really good, so I would really love to see them interpret this over to HBO Max, like the second game, and they could do some big things with that season. And already it seems like it's a very, very great start to the game. It seems accurate, it seems the characters are good. So right now I'm really enjoying it.
I'm not personally a huge Last of Us fan. I saw the first game, I wasn't interested in it. Saw the second game, wasn't interested in it. But I will say, if I had to pick one game franchise in my entire life that I would bet money would have been a good TV show, it would have been The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Because that's the definition of what I was saying earlier about how there are video games that they feel like movies. That's The Last of Us. Though that is a game that it basically is a story first, a game second, which is not a bad thing. Not at all. My favorite game of all time is a story first, game second. But the important thing is that it makes it a good TV show. And while I haven't watched it, I'm not surprised it's good, because you attach really good actors onto it, you attach a really good director, and you attach people who care about the product that they're making, you're going to have something good.
Yep, and you said it's complete, almost very similar
in
to
my,
the game.
In my opinion, I think they've done the characters really well.
Yeah,
so.
And that's all I could ask for, especially, I'm a big fan of the OG game. Number one, it's a fantastic story game, fantastic gameplay in general. It's just really fun and just a lot of good stuff coming out of there, as we alluded to. Now, going on a little less of good adaptations, I should say, than the two that I want to bring up are Sonic and Halo. Now, let's talk about Sonic, guys, and just put it lightly, they did Sonic dirty. They did Sonic so dirty in the beginning, because they've revamped it. I think Jim Carrey does a great Eggman, but just all it is animation, and they missed it. They missed it. Animation, CGI, whatever you want to put it, they still missed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Jim Carrey was one of the highlights of that movie, but it's Jim Carrey. But I think they definitely did miss the mark that they were trying to go for. And I know Sonic has been, at least in my perspective, Sonic's been a really big franchise, if you will. And so they had, I get, with these video game adaptations, you have an expectation. If you have, and I mean, I feel like that's not even just with video game adaptations, but just kind of sequels in general and stuff like that. So if you have already a product out and you have to try to transfer that to another form of media, you have some high expectations. And I feel like they've kind of really missed the mark with what they intended for, so.
Well, personally, I did enjoy both the Sonic movies, though more for I like the character, and I think this is fun, and I saw it with friends, so of course you're going to like everything if you see it with friends. But definitely the second one is better than the first one. The first one is, and I hate to say this, it's a generic movie. It's anyone could be Sonic, and it wouldn't change the plot that much. Keep Jim Carrey, though. He basically carried the first movie.
Yep, did fantastic all around. I mean, can't go wrong with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, but the second movie, I think, kind of fixed my major issue with the first movie, because it has so many direct call-outs to Sonic. Sure, it's not nearly as good as the Mario movie. The Mario movie is the pinnacle of respecting what made you big. But the Sonic movie did a lot better with it. The Sonic movie's plot is almost entirely taken from the second and third games of the original Sonic series, which is cool. There's so many references to the original games. It's done exceptionally well. Again, it's kind of a bare bones movie, but I can also say that there was a lot more love put into the second movie compared to the first one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and that means a lot. I just hope that with the third one, with the secret character they've revealed, that they do it well, because they just decided to make the next movie the best games in the franchise.
Yeah.
So I have very high expectations.
Yep. I mean, Shadow, just fantastic. I mean, secret character, but I mean, you know, I can't go wrong with Shadow at all. But another one, real quick before our last part of the segment, the thing that I hate about Halo writers, all you had to do was take Master Chief and make a story out of it, and you didn't, which makes no sense to me. But that is the whole part of the game and why the game is so popular, and it doesn't make any sense why they didn't do it. But now to our final part of this segment, just our overall favorite video game adaptation to whatever it may be. Haley, I'll start you off.
Listen, I know we talked previously, but I think the Uncharted movie was better than people said. Now, I know a lot of people have had some mixed opinions on it. I personally, have loved the Uncharted series. It's my favorite. I still continue to play it all day, every day. But I think initially I was skeptical of it because I was so passionate about the franchise. And I love Tom Holland, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think he could fill the shoes of Nathan Drake. And I get that they were going for a younger edition with Mark Wahlberg as Sully. I get that. But I was a little skeptical because I didn't know how he was going to pull this off. But my favorite thing about this is that they've pulled concepts from every single game. It wasn't just based off of one game of the franchise. They've pulled aspects from big fight scenes. They've mixed up characters from all the games. So it's kind of like one big combination. And I think that was my favorite part, is because when I was sitting there in the movies with my parents had no idea. I dragged them along to watch this. And I would point out everything, and it was just to me, it was so cool because they incorporated so many different, kind of iconic things of the franchise. And to me, it wasn't perfect, definitely wasn't the best. But just the way that they've always incorporated the concept, and it kind of goes off of in Mario, that had those kind of little hidden things that if you really know, then you will be able to find it out. I think that has to be my favorite. I just and Tom Holland did a better job than what I gave him credit for, and that was on me. But I think a lot of people gave them backlash for Tom Holland, but it definitely did better, and I think it's my favorite. I still watch it all the time, so.
Fair enough. Tyler?
So it'd be really easy to say the Mario movie is my favorite because it was really good. It'd be easy to say the Sonic movies are my favorite. I want to pick the one that reminded me that video game adaptations can be good, because I had zero faith in any of them for so long until I watched this movie. Detective Pikachu. It is the best one, hands down. There's no argument that can be had here. It understands exactly what makes Pokemon such a popular franchise, and it runs with it, and it does it so well. It is the only form of Pokemon media that has effectively gotten the Pokemon Ditto right. The anime couldn't do that, and that was the original characters. But this movie did, and it did. Sure, it's not a perfect movie, but I would die on the hill that it understood exactly what made Pokemon so popular, and it ran with it, and I love that for an adaptation.
Tyler took most of the thunder for mine. As you can see, I should say, Pikachu on my shirt. Pokemon is my favorite video game adaptation of all time. That's all of the time that we have here on Nerd Alert. Check back every Friday right here on WCTV.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.